Here we are, back with the Rescue from the Hive. I finished reading the main rule set last night, and I was so impressed with it. I think it's going to be a really fun game. The problem was my kind of trying to adapt it for a solo play would be kind of difficult. I think I'd lose a lot of the game trying to play this as one person. So I hunted online for the solo variant rules that were published in Moves magazine number 56 and was successful. So I printed them out, and here's Rescue from the Hive on your own, a solitaire play system. Very short amount of rules. There's not much to it. What it mostly is made up of is a lot of tables for determining certain actions, where you place units, that sort of thing. So I started again. So we emptied the board. Let's go through a couple of the differences for the setup. One thing that's slightly different is for the Terran player, instead of having 80 resource points allotted to you, you have 70. So I made those changes. I still took 4 darters plus an engineer, and then I just made some changes. I had to lose a guy there. So I've still got the 4 ships, basically. I want to give them a good chance. I was going to go with 5 ships, but the table actually changes between 4 and 5, where if you have 5 ships, there's more chances of some serious damage happening to you, so I didn't want to take a chance. So that was that big change. Then for the Xenon players, they have you mix up the chits, or separate the chits rather, into 4 different cups, basically. So on this one, we have the Master Queen and 6 queens go in the first cup. In the second cup, we have a queen, 2 soldiers, which are the 834s, and 3 workers, which are the 313s. And then right down there, we have the ambassador and his daughter. In the third cup, those are the booby traps. The top 3 are the active ones, and the bottom 2 are the fake ones. 1 more soldier and 2 more workers. And then in the fourth and final cup, you get 11 soldiers, and there was a typo. It said 16 workers, but there's only 15 worker chits left. I double checked on Board Game Geek to see the original counter sheet just to make sure I hadn't lost one, and it's in fact the case that there is only that many. So most of these will go into a cup. I believe it might be these that get distributed right off the top. I haven't started setting it up. I just kind of did this part of it. So there's a couple, and throughout the rest of the game, there's a few rules that don't apply. One of them that I'm going to try to make work is at a certain point in the game, and I loved the way that they worded this. Let me just find it for you here, sorry. Killing the hostages. The Xenon player may attempt to execute the hostages each time following the destruction of both engine rooms that a queen or master queen is killed. The Xenon player may roll to kill the hostages. Execution is automatic once the roll has been made. And then it just talks about the procedure and how you go about doing that. And I love the way 19.4 read. When an execution is announced, the Xenon player must immediately reveal the location of the prisoner to be executed. This announcement demonstrates that a hostage is alive and backs up the threat in order to force the Space Marine's withdrawal. The Xenon player is not required to kill a prisoner once an announcement of execution is made, but if an execution is imminent at any future time, he must again give a 1 game turn notice. I love the way that that's worded. Really, really great set of rules, actually. This Nick Karp, I had a look on Board Game Geek, and he only has 3 games credited to his entry on Board Game Geek. This one, that Space Traders, I think, was another one, and then another war game about the Vietnam War. So I love the way that it's worded. I love the imagination in this one. I really have high hopes that this is going to be a fun little game. So there's that info. Hopefully this is something that still interests people. I know that the previous video that's on the Board Game Geek already before I got here was a kind of a video about this solitaire play system, but I'm hoping to get into a little more detail, and I'll do plays throughout and talk about some of the rules as I'm going. So there you go. That's the little bit of a basic setup for the solitaire version of Rescue from the Hive. I've started the game. I had 4 ships, and as you can see, I'm down to 3. What happens right off the top? So we set up our forces, put them in their darters. I mixed the piles of chits and put them in individual little containers, and I rolled on the outer defense table and the darter damage table. So I rolled a 6 on this one, and as you can see, with 4 ships, that gives you the number 3. That means that's the amount of times you have to roll on this darter damage table and choose a ship, or a darter rather, to inflict the damage on. I had 2 rolls that were 4s and 1 roll that was a 6, and as you can see by a 6 there's a D beside it, and that means that the darter and all occupants are destroyed. So, and that's what this one was set up for. So I rolled a 4 and I took some damage off of this. I had to lose 3 people. I rolled a second 4 and I took 3 damage off of this one. With my final roll was the 6. That left a choice of these 2. I wanted to keep this particular darter stacked because it has four lancers basically, so 2 there, 2 there, an engineer, and then a soldier. I lost from these ones, I lost one of the 2 lancers chits and the soldier chit from each one of them. An engineer is pretty important to have. He can blow holes through walls, they can get rid of booby traps, that sort of thing. Soldier has a lot of ground that he can cover, but I thought that that would be the better choice to destroy out of anything else there. And then, like I said, this one was already short stacked anyway. I don't think it had a soldier in it to begin with. So because I already picked from these 2, I had to choose one of the remaining darters to destroy. So that one was sacrificed. And then its door goes up into the airlock space. The next thing that happens is we pick 6 units at random from Mix D that are placed on the game board according to this Xenon initial placement table. I should also say that the first thing that we had to do was select which mission we wanted to do. The victory conditions I chose, there is a punitive mission or a rescue mission. The punitive mission is to see how many of the opponent you can kill. The rescue mission is just that, to see if you can safely rescue the ambassador and his daughter. Since the video that existed before me here on Board Game Geek was a punitive one, I decided to go for the rescue mission, which will be interesting once I incorporate this killing the hostages rule somehow. When we get there, we'll figure that one out. There you have it. So that's kind of the setup. The next thing that's going to happen is, like I said, I'm going to pick from cup D and then roll on this table and disperse these units face up. They get thrown in face up on the board. Simple enough. There's the Xenon forces amongst the corridors and hallways. Easy enough to understand. One of the dies is red up here, one of them is red down there. It's cross-referenced. There's a number. Each of the spaces has a number on it, and you put the units in the spaces. Now, when it comes to deploying Xenon units later on in the game, what happens is when the Terran forces enter an area that has not been explored before, then it's a similar method. One unit from Mix A is deployed face up, and Mix A has the Master Queen and the Queen. Each area has to have one or the other controlling that particular area. I believe these areas are called hives, and then this is the laser control room. So that is an area, and then these other 6 are the areas. Corridors that have not been explored before, say it was this section or something, or if there was no unit up here, this would not be considered an area. It's only these spaces that are enclosed in this in these borders that are different colors here. Each of those areas, as I said, has to have a queen or a master queen. That's just the way that it goes, and depending on which you pull, which chit you pull, that will determine where you go from there and which tables that you reference. So here's a queen placement table, a nest population table, and then a nest deployment table. Those will be the 3 that you work on. So in that sense, it gives it that kind of Pandora feel again. You're entering a room and then doing some rolls to see what you've encountered. Which I like that system. I think that system works perfectly well. It keeps kind of the guessing up. What's also nice about this though is that you actually have units deployed in the hallways, which is great. We'll be able to try some of our ranged combat if we enter this hallway. I think it was you have to be 2 spaces away, and that's 2 including the space that the unit is on. So if I had units here, we'd be able to try a ranged combat with this particular unit and take them down. So that is that, I guess. As far as strategy at this point, there isn't really any. I'm going to disperse the units, and I'm going to try to keep things calm for the first part. Maybe I'll separate them and explore these 2 hives first before I send a group up the way to attack the engine room. That is going to be an early task for my guys for sure. I really want to get us to the point of at least taking one of the engine rooms down so we can expand this game turn track a little bit. And eventually, as I said before, destroy both of them, so then the Terrans, or the Xenons can start threatening to assassinate. There you go. Rescue from the Hive. Let's do it.